Greetings and welcome to Five Play Friday. Super excited to be here. Who could have predicted that? Oh boy. How's the sound on this? Interesting. Hey, Mike Connor's in the house. Excellent. Good to see you, Mike. Great to see all the familiar faces. Les O'Connor Jr. Let me do that. How's that? Echo. I got you. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. We all do this show together, and I appreciate you all. I'm going to shut this down a little bit. Jason Hayes is in the house. Darwin Sonata. Great to see you. Randy Wilson. This is awesome. Stan Bickler in the house from Pittsburgh. Randy's from Chicago. Darwin, Michigan. Yes, Jason Hayes, Missouri. Les O'Connor from Chicagoland. And Mike Connors from Florida. How did I do? It's been a while. Awesome. Appreciate everybody joining today. Welcome to Five Play Friday Live. We have a special guest today, and I'm super excited to see that. One of the things I want to point out, if you haven't taken advantage already, I have a 5 case play a day scenario where you sign up every day for 30 days, 5 case plays, National Federation of High School in your inbox to keep you fresh, keep your saw sharpened as we approach the upcoming season. All right, fantastic. I think we're good to go. Sound is good. Echo. Mark? Yeah, we're working on it. A little more. Oh, the Zooch is in the house from Missouri. Awesome. Oh, coffee? Yeah. We are good to go. All right. Well, I'd like to introduce our special guest today, Chip Clark. Chip is a men's college and high school basketball official. He's the training coordinator for his local high school officials association. He's a marketing consultant, a statistician with the Orlando Magic and the Lakeland Magic, and also now an admin at Deep Dive Ref. Husband and father living in Lakeland, Florida, with his amazing wife Sarah and his super cool son Camden. Chip is passionate about officiating and seeks to advance the avocation at every turn. Chip, how are you today? Great to see you.
I'm doing great, Greg. Thank you so much for having me on. And I'm excited that right out of the gate, I get to be on your first live show of the season, man. It's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for joining us. Chip has brought in some plays for us to look at and break down and look at all the things, because that's exactly what we do. So, Chip, I have to ask you, what is this statistician role that you have with the Magic?
Yep. So a few years ago, I had one of my friends, Chip, had actually recruited me to help out with the stats for the FHSAA state tournament. And so I kind of learned a little about taking stats on the computer, and it's the live stats that, generate and auto-populate and go out to the world online, right? So he actually got me hooked up with the Lakeland Magic. And then I hopped on with them for the next season because I live here in Lakeland, Florida. And so did a good job with them. Then the WNBA during COVID had their wobble, so to speak, down in Bradenton, Florida. And so the NBA reached out to me about possibly being one of the statisticians to do that. So I went down there. That was quite an experience. Got to record the live stats and then did a good job there. And so when a role opened up with the Orlando Magic, they reached out to me. And so now I do it for the Orlando Magic and Lakeland Magic, like sparingly, right? Because my ref schedule is pretty packed, but I'm very thankful and blessed that both the Orlando Magic and Lakeland Magic, my bosses there, work around my schedule. So they may have me scheduled for the Golden State game like they had, but I had a ref assignment come up on that day and they take me off the schedule. So they work with me because they know where my priority is. So, but it's a really cool gig. It's fun being right down there on the court.
Oh, I
with the
imagine
players. I did that.
It is awesome. And I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
really
you
cool.
bringing up the world champion Golden State Warriors.
That's right. There you go.
We are always repping the Warriors here at A Better Official. Living in the
Absolutely, you
beautiful
are.
San Francisco Bay Area.
Absolutely.
Okay, so briefly, tell us about what's going on at DDR and what you're doing with Deep Dive Ref.
Yep. So they brought me on this off season. I did some work with them last year, and so I'm really excited to join their team. We're doing some great things over there. We're going to be putting out weekly training videos, and I'm going to be doing the voiceovers for most of those videos, looking at topical. We'll be topical discussions and topical videos that really break down kind of what same as you do in some ways, different plays. And so we'll be looking at plays categorically and putting out weekly training content. And then on top of that, what I'll be doing with them is we have a few associations, high school associations that basically are partners with us. And so we do game breakdowns for them. So I'll be evaluating crews, doing video game breakdowns for those crews, putting together the report, the evaluation for them and sending it back to the state association. So I'll be doing some of that as well, but I'm excited to join their staff in all my free time during the season, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was watching a DDR video and I heard the voiceover and I was like, I know that voice.
Yeah, you do. That's me. That's me. I'm excited to do it though. Any way that we can try to pass on the knowledge that we've learned throughout the years and throughout camps that we go to, and talk things like this where we've been on Zoom meetings, where we've been on live shows, where we've just learned and picked people's brain, some of the best officials in the world, and being able to get that instruction from them and pass it on to other people. I know that's what's helped me get where I am today, is learning from people like you. I've often said this, like when I started out, I've only officiated for 5 years, Greg.
Excellent.
And 5 years ago, right when I started out, I started following you. And so you were literally one of the biggest reasons why I was able to jump through the high school ranks as quickly as I have. And then just got a passion for becoming a rules expert. And so, I owe a lot of that to you. So thank you. It's actually a really big honor to be on with you today.
Well, obviously that warms my heart, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you experience it as well. You impact another official, either inspire them or instruct them or guide them, or, you say 10 things and they find one thing that's super valuable.
Right.
And that's very rewarding.
It's worth it. It's worth it. And what we do too is like, people like you and myself and a lot of the people in the comment section, I know are very dedicated to this as well. And whether it be on our Facebook groups or, I see a lot of names I recognize and people that I've interacted with in the past. And, we try to give back and we try to educate. Right. And so one of the things that I've wanted to do and my involvement on Twitter and Instagram and social media in general, one of the reasons why I still have an account is because I was very close. I did some coaches clinics in the past. Me and my partner, I really helped out him with United Basketball clinics, and I got to rub shoulders with a lot of coaches. And I realized, through officiating and through that there's a gap there with rules knowledge with coaches and other key stakeholders in the game. Obviously, that's pretty obvious, right? And so I wanted to do everything I can to build relationships with these coaches. So I have to this day, every day, every month, every week, like coaches DM me about plays. They'll send me plays. They want to get my feedback on it by rule. Like, what's the rule on this? So just trying to further basketball officiating and advance officiating, but not just with officials. I want to be able to educate people on the rules of the game, all the key stakeholders, so that it's going to only be better for us in the long run.
Well, I know you dominate on Twitter, and we'll put your Twitter handle on so people can get your breakdown of rules, and you always supply the rules book reference, which is very rare for people to actually provide that content.
Yeah, I like to keep all my rule books in the Books app on my phone instead of the hard copy, so I can easily highlight, screenshot, and just share it with the world. So
that is the way to go. All right. Well, why are we here? We're here to look at plays. How many? 5. All right. So we're here to look at plays. We've got Chip. He's provided some clips for us to look at. We're going to analyze all the things. Let's get started with our very first play. Nice.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this first play. All right, so as we pick up on this, I'm doing an unapproved signal, so I apologize for you. This is me in the clip. One of the reasons I wanted to share this play is because offensive leg kickouts by shooters have been addressed at other leagues in their directives that they've put out, in their interpretations, stuff like that recently. NFHS, to my knowledge, has not put anything out on leg kick shed as far as a directive. But it's becoming a growing trend in our game, right? So offensive leg kickouts by shooters, unnatural motions like this, need to be penalized when it negatively affects the defender, correct? So on this play, we can see the offensive player is driving down. He's going to pull up for a quick three. I position adjust down to see an open look, have an up and open look through the matchup. I stay with the shooter. So one of the things that we always, and a lot of you guys know, one of the things we always talk about on airborne shooter plays, we want to find the open angle first. I did look at the feet. Now we want to officiate the shooter up. We want to officiate the shooter down, and then we can look to rebounding action. Okay, so that sequencing can really help us stay with those airborne shooters. One of the things this is a side note, but I wanted to bring it up. I evaluate a lot of crews, and I look at a lot of game film of our crews here locally. And one of the things I see a lot from high school officials is on these airborne shooter plays, especially perimeter shots, they'll mark the shot, and then they're going to turn their head and watch the ball fly through the air. All right. So I know this has been addressed multiple times, especially on this show in the past. But we want to follow the shooter up, down, and then we can look to rebounding action. Watching a ball fly through the air cannot help you at all. It's pointless. All right. That can't hurt you. That ball flying through the air cannot hurt you. But a defender crashing into a shooter can, or an offensive player unnaturally extending their leg and tripping an opponent, a defender that's contesting the play, but is not going to touch the shooter otherwise. And then this results in blue 11 being tripped and falling. And Greg, I want us to talk about together kind of what you observed on this play as well. And then let's pay special attention to this. Would you split hairs on this, or would you say that the shooter has already landed? Yeah. Would you call this a player control foul as an airborne shooter, like I did? Or, would you go ahead and say that this is after the shooter has landed?
That's awesome. So we haven't talked about this play, but these are exactly the things that are jumping off to me as well, is we may have a decision to make if the ball goes in, right? Are we going to score that goal, or are we going to consider this an airborne shooter? So here's what I see. I mean, when I watch the play, it's like, do we have the open look on the play? Have we moved at a pace anticipating what we're going to have and get in position? We're in perfect position. We've got the feet. We got looking for point of contact, not really a factor, but we're staying with the shooter. And like you say, it's something that if you are analyzing your own game video as a basketball official and finding those, did I stay with my shooter all the way up, all the way down, and then a little bit more, right? There may be a retaliatory thing or a throwing out a butt on a 3-point shooter. So this is all perfect. And I like the processing, right? Just taking a moment. We don't have to be in a rush here. Taking a moment, we're processing. We're watching the ball, whether it goes in, but I really just see that as we're just taking the second of time to process, make a decision, and put a call on the play. And one more thing, right? So we report. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I love it. There's no.
It's an unapproved signal. It's not an approved signal, and so So I understand that. I wanted to get that out there from an NFHS standpoint. Obviously, it's not an approved signal, but what do we have on this play? Okay. So what I could have done, what am I going to call a blocking foul on this?
Yeah.
What am I going to call? So I could obviously have reported the color and number, and then I could have done blocking foul and then given a little extra with the leg kick.
Yep.
So that,
Yep.
but I want to, I've got the assistant coach for this team right behind me and the head coach that said, why, what, that's on him. And so giving that, I don't even have to say a word to them. When I do my leg kick out like that, then it's clear to them. And they know that this player does this on plays. So here's some context. A few plays earlier, he did it. I was aware to that. And now we keep that in the back of our mind throughout the game. Whenever this player goes up to shoot a 3-point attempt, we know he's going to unnaturally kick his leg out. And if he makes contact, now I want to talk about this, Greg. If he makes contact right here, but it doesn't trip that defender, That's a no call.
Yeah.
That's a no call. The only reason I have a call on this play is because it trips blue 11 and causes him to fall to the floor. All right. And that's what we've been instructed at the collegiate level. Obviously, this applies here too. This is an offensive leg kick out. He contacts him just as he's landing, almost simultaneously as he's landing. So when I look to the basket there, that's just my normal sequencing, right? But that normal sequencing also gives me time, like you said, to process this play and think, okay, do I have a player control foul on this? Is he airborne shooter? Am I going to, if this goes in, am I going to wipe the bucket? Just processing, even if it's stuff that you're thinking through all those things in a split second, right? And so giving that extra look to the basket, even though at that point I probably already knew I was coming out with player control and I was going to wipe it even if it went in. But that lets me know after I looked over there, I see the shot did not go in, so I don't need to wipe it away, right? I don't need to cancel the basket. So if it had gone in, that's why I looked to the basket there after I observed the illegal contact. I looked to the basket there. I see it doesn't go in, so I don't need to wipe it. I don't need to cancel it.
Right. Yeah, so that's another key. When I watched the clip when you sent it, that's what I was thinking. This player is probably an embellisher, probably has exhibited these behaviors previously in the game. And so that, we want to take clues from the players as to, their personality on the court. So that jumped off as well. I like it. Let's see what's going on in the chat. How about that? Let's take a look.
I mean, Les did bring up, I'm glad you highlighted that one. So in that moment, all right, so as he's landing, and this is why I mentioned splitting hairs earlier.
Yes.
I feel that as his right foot is landing and as I'm processing this play, right, I see the contest coming out. I'm looking for point of contact up top. And then as I look to see him land, I see the contact. Now, the trip did not occur until after he had landed, clearly, right? The players didn't fall until after he had landed. But the point of contact with that extended leg occurred simultaneously almost with the right foot landing. So, and in that moment, I mean, obviously we can talk about, that's why we're on here evaluating this. This is what's great about reviewing game film is you can look back and see, did he land before the contact? In this play, it was so close that in real time or at game speed and even in slow-mo, in my opinion, the contact occurs, the illegal contact. It didn't become illegal until he tripped, right? But the contact itself occurred while he was landing. So airborne shooter, in my opinion, still.
And if we're talking just what's our approach to the game, let's say this was a defensive foul, right? Had the player landed or were they in the process of landing? Where do we want to err? Do we want to err on the, no, he had landed, this is a foul after, or this is a foul on a shooter, right?
If this contact occurs
by a shooter.
If this contact occurs by the defender on this play and it's illegal contact by the defender at the same exact time that this contact occurred, I'm obviously going to be awarding 3 free throws.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is my approach. I'm going to err on the side of airborne shooter until it is obvious they are not an airborne shooter. And sometimes we get that in plays where a player lands as a 3-point shooter, a defender is running out, they contact them after they have clearly landed. So, but I think we share a common view that we're going to err on the side of shooting here.
Yep, absolutely. I definitely share that view with you. And then obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't, just reiterate the NFHS's directive um, on using the player control and team control signal in this situation for all these plays. Now, I know it doesn't necessarily apply here to team control or this, that, and the other, but just making sure we're not doing the punch signal on this, just to reiterate NFHS's directive.
Yeah,
To
very
eliminate the punch
strong,
signal.
very strong. Greg Handy is joining the Alaska contingent along with Mike Goodwin. Excellent. Rick Watson is in the house. Great to see you, Rick. And Mark, is with us, clearly an airborne shooter. I mean, we could pick nits and say, look, no, his right toe had touched the floor before the leg, right? But we have to have a practical, real-time philosophy of how we're officiating, and I think we share that. But Les O'Connor says, Chip, great whistle either way, judgment call. That's why we get paid the big bucks. And that is
absolutely right. These big high school bucks, baby. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a fantastic play to get us started. Let's take a look at play number 2.
So on this play, as it's wrapping up, let's go ahead and one of the biggest things I want to focus on, not just the call itself, right, but is the team officiating afterwards. Okay, so obviously on this play, we've got some different moving pieces here. We've got a shot attempt going up. We've got the lead officiating the low block action. We've got a hook and hold, in my opinion, but we're gonna end up going with a foul on the blue player. All right. So now on this play, the biggest thing I want to focus on, and we'll come back to the play itself, is the communication by the crew. Okay. When we come together the first time, we should get all of the information. All right. We should talk about all the things, like Greg likes to say, right? All the things. We're going to make sure that, so we do see the shot attempt is successful. The try is successful. All right. By the white team. So we have a foul on the blue player. If that's going to be the call, great. We're going to come together as a crew. We're going to find out, okay, hey, the try was successful, partner. We got to score that basket. All right. Now, who was the foul on? Okay, you had the foul on the blue player, the defender. All right. Now, since it was no team control on this play and the foul occurred here, we're going to score the basket, and then white is going to have the ball for the designated spot throw in on the end line. Good? We good? You got anything else? We're good? All right, break. And then we don't have to come back together.
Yeah.
On these things, when it comes to team officiating, we want to make absolutely sure it's not, listen, we want to make sure we get the play right first and foremost. That's the number one priority. Get the play right. We want to make sure it doesn't lead to any other errors. All right. So in our communication, we talk about all the things. We try to do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. Right. Yep. So that's why knowing the key points that we need to talk about when we come to that huddle real quick is going to help us. You just only ask about the key pieces, only give information on the key pieces here. All right. You give that, and then we know how to proceed. Instead of having to come back together again, it gives the appearance that the crew doesn't know what they're doing. We lose credibility with all key stakeholders in this situation, and then they're going to be honest the rest of the game if they weren't already. You know, so that's what I was looking at on this play, Greg.
Yeah, that's what really jumps off is, in my own games, right? It's sort of a Keystone Cops moment where we seem to be confused, moving without purpose, etc. And it's just human beings. Somebody up in the stands is going to see the officials move in this fashion. They're going to say, those guys don't know what's going on. right? Because I'm a human being and I'm judging the way the human beings are acting and moving, and there seems to be uncertainty or what have you. And we obviously want to avoid that and show strength and confidence. So what are some of the things that we can do, right? If we are the center official here and we know that ball went in, we're going to score the goal. What's our language? How would you approach the lead right here? And what would you say?
Okay, so in this position, so the lead is down in the closed down position as he should when it's over there. He widens out correctly. All right, so here's the thing: we need to have our eyes on that matchup. We need to be ball aware but matchup oriented. Okay, the lead needs to be ball aware but matchup oriented. That matchup is the only thing that he needs to officiate on this play. So getting your eyes there a little bit sooner can help with this play. Also, there's potential that White hooked the arm first. There's potential that this could be a hook and hold, and it looks like he caught the tail end of this. Now, we don't have a great angle to see whether or not there was a hook and hold there, who was hooking, who was holding. But at the end of the day, he made this call. Now, if I'm the center official on this play, which good on him for coming in to talk to him, I want to get to my lead before he reports.
Yeah.
Personally, that's just me. I want to do a light jog in there with a little sense of urgency. Hey, partner, that basket went in. Just wanted to make sure that you knew. Who did you have that foul on again? And then he's going to say blue, whoever. And then, okay, perfect. Score the basket, report the foul, and then we're going to have a throw in for the white team on the end line.
Right.
And then it's
we're
done.
Not in bonus as well.
Assuming we're not in bonus as well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
In this game they weren't, obviously, and so, but that's another thing, a key piece. If they were in bonus on this play, that's other important information you need to bring to the equation in that conversation.
Right. So we have a coach who's a bit animated on the sideline. Do we feel that needs to be addressed, or that's a natural result of what we were doing on the court on this play?
Right. So in this situation, let's look at it as it goes right here. So he's animated a little bit. As long as he's not. In my opinion, as long as he's not crossing the line, and my threshold may be different than other people's threshold, right? As far as right now goes, I'm okay with it. He's trying to fill out what the play is, who's the foul on, stuff like this. In my opinion, we let that go unless it interrupts what we're trying to do, and unless it crosses the line. That's just me personally. What are your thoughts on that, Greg?
Maybe the old trail on this play could say, coach, hold on, we'll get it straight, we'll get it right, etc. Keep them from the gesticulations. I mean, obviously They may be confused. They may not know the rule. They may not know that goal will score, etc.
And that's key to this play, though, Greg. You bring up a good point, because we need to know and be aware of the situations that may confuse coaches. We know that many coaches probably do not know this rule. We know that if the foul is on the blue team, we know by rule that we're going to score the basket and White's going to get the ball because there was no team control. A coach may not know that, right? And so we need to be aware of that. And so he may be gesturing like, what's the call? Like, what's going on? And he may be a little animated when we say, hey, we're going to score the basket and we're going to give that team the ball back. You know what I mean? So sometimes that confuses coaches. We need to be aware of that. And know that they may be a little bit more animated there. Now, obviously, I'm not advocating for, if they cross the line, not penalizing that.
Right. Not a thing here on this play.
Yeah, exactly. But on this play, I don't see anything here that's out of the ordinary, especially considering this is an atypical play.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, right on. Hold on.
I will say I did watch this whole game, and this is a crew from Texas, from San Antonio, and I thought the crew did a good job on this game. This is just one of those that's an interesting play I wanted to share, that I felt like, as far as the crew dynamic and team officiating, being efficient and effective and not having to come back together is the thing I wanted to highlight on this play.
Yeah. If my crew did this and we had this moment and we're doing the back and forth, I'm definitely taking that to heart. How could I eliminate that? How could I be clearer in the communication if I have information, or how can I be more effective at getting information about what my partners have on the play so we can, get it all, like you say, on the table here. We know what we're going to do. We're going to do this, and go from there.
Good stuff.
Yeah. San Antonio, Texas. Excellent. We're all over the country here, Chip.
I love it.
Willowbrook from Michigan, joining with Darwin Sonata, the Michigan contingent. Yeah. That's what I would say as well, Les. If I'm the trail on this play, what can I add, right? As opposed to drifting away, etc. Maybe it's just a word to the coach, right? If they'd step forward, hey, coach, we got it. We'll sort it out. We'll let you know, right? Just to calm them. I mean, that's what they can offer. They're obviously going to be looking at big picture. They've got two officials going together, right? Aware of player interactions, etc. Broad picture view. But when we ultimately step forward here, that's better, I think.
Yes, that was a great point, Les. I like that.
Yeah, awesome, Stan. Okay, all right. Looking good. Let's see. For the frequent viewers, we may notice there's a sort of an absence of graphics and things. I was telling Chip before the show is in a bit of pieces on the garage floor, but we'll be putting it back together in post, as you know we like to do. All right. Excellent. 2 plays in. Let's take a look at play number 3.
All right, this is a nice quick clip. This is obviously the tail end of the second quarter, closing seconds. You can't see right before this, but there was a quick still turnover, and then the white player proceeds to run up the court. Obviously, in this situation, if I'm the center official, let's start there, okay? The center official transition. I know I'm not responsible for the clock necessarily because I'm table side, but in this case, you can't see it, but the clock is on the other end. Once I pass, once I see that I don't have a competitive matchup in the middle of the court and he clears center court, I want to peep there just to make sure I want to peep the clock just to make sure I know we're coming down in the final seconds right here. See how much time we have left. Good job by the new lead on this play, staying attached to it, as well as the center official. We do obviously have a shooting foul on this play. The blue player does illegally contact him on the arm, but there's a lot to look at on this play, right? There's a lot in real time that we need to be looking at on this play, and each of us need to have information. Now, the new trail, who was the old former lead, is going to be caught way back there, so they're not going to be much help. We know that. But the center and the new lead are going to have to adjudicate this play properly, all right? We got to look at a few things. We got to look at player location. We got to look at airborne shooter. We got to look at the defender contesting. We have to know the clocks. We have to listen to horn. When did the whistle occur? A lot of different things. And now we can't hear the audio on this play because it was terrible audio from NFHS Network on this one because it was a raucous crowd and it was just super over the top audio. So, but I can tell you on this play that so we have the shot is released, the contact occurs, the horn sounds, and then immediately after is the whistle. Okay. So shot is released, contact on the arm, but horn sounds here, and then we have a whistle. And the official's stopping the clock, right? Mm-hmm. So I love the fact coming together for team officiating on this. If the trail is going to end up coming, the new trail is going to end up coming into this conference with the lead and the C, but they can't contribute very much to this. Yeah. You know what I mean? They can only maybe contribute if the shot was released prior to the horn. Because that's their clock, right? They're responsible for the clock as the outside official opposite table. But they're not going to be able to contribute much to this play. The lead and the C need to get their heads together on this, which they did, and rule that this is a 3-point attempt. This is atypical, right? It's one of those things where the player clearly lands well inside the arc.
Yeah.
So if we don't identify player location properly, as before he becomes an airborne shooter, then we could. And in this case, our new trail came in and said, I think he was, on the line, or I think it was a 2-point attempt. And luckily the C and the L did not listen to that because he was way back there. But they come together. They ended up getting, I know, right?
No, don't come with that information from
Don't come with that information. Well, first of all, you can't say I think, right? I don't need your thoughts on this. You're way back. You're 60 feet away, brother. But anyway, the C and the L come together on this. They talk about the play. Now, what are the things we're talking about in here in this conference? Greg, go ahead.
Well, I'm talking a lot, was the foul? Did the foul occur before the horn? That's right. The key thing. Did the foul occur before the horn? Regardless, rather, of when the whistle sounded, did the foul occur? Do we have any information about time on the clock? Right? Let's say the center in this instance said, when the foul occurred, I glanced, it was 0.2. Or maybe they have no information on that front, right? Because those are the two key things. If this same foul occurred after the horn had sounded, then it is not a foul. It is just a common action. It doesn't rise to intentional or flagrant. And so we would not have that. Right, so we need to determine when the foul occurred. We need to determine whether it was a 3-point shot, and we need to determine that if it did occur before the horn, do we have any information that we could put time on the clock? Because in the absence of that, if the foul occurred so close to the horn that the timer was not able to stop it, then there would be no time on the clock. Our player's going to attempt the free throws without anybody in the lane. Players must remain on the court. Teams may not go to their locker room, etc.
All the things. I love it. All the things. I love it. So I'll tell you what they did on this play. They actually did it correctly. So the contact occurred just prior to the horn. The center official had a better angle of the clock, so he peeps the clock as soon as contact while he's blowing his whistle. He had 0.3 seconds on the clock.
Nice.
All right. So he comes in with that information, even though he's not necessarily responsible for this. This is all the things, though, right? We need to have information. We know our trail is way back there. He's not going to be able to help much at all on this. So, because it was a quick turnover. So we come in, they bring the information, they talk about it. The new lead says, I'm certain he's behind. He left the floor from behind the 3-point line. His location is behind the 3-point line. We're going to be shooting 3 shots. The conversation goes like this. We're going to be shooting 3 shots. We know that the contact occurred just prior to the horn. Do you have any time on the clock? Yes, I have 0.3 seconds on the clock. All right, so we're going to have lane spaces occupied on this play. They go to report it to the table. They come back. They allow white number 1 to shoot his 3 free throws, and the blue team has 4 players on the lanes occupied, and white doesn't have any. So they handled this play correctly, but this is just a good line of thinking. Like, if that contact occurs, then you have horn. So contact, the illegal contact, then the horn, then the whistle, what are the situations in which we're going to have the free throw shot with lane spaces cleared, or when we have no time put back on the clock. Just knowing those things can help out.
Absolutely. And of course, this is the end of the second period. The same play occurs at the end of regulation, and the impact will be even greater. So we want to have everything buttoned down. I like to suggest that whenever we have anything atypical or that involves communication, or we have to sort out multiple things, is apply that same situation to an end of game, tie game, 1-point lead, etc. When our decision making and our dotting all of our I's and crossing all of our T's will have maximum impact. And we're at the greatest risk of making a mistake.
Absolutely. And listen, great point in the comment sections too. And one of the other things I wanted to address is the coaches, right? This is a situation in 2 teams which their assistant coaches like to stand when there's a whistle, and sit down. We've got to address that. Who's going to address it? We've got the center official and the lead coming together. The trail is not going to be able to contribute much to this situation. As the trail is running in there, I'd like to see him address not only the white team's head coach that crossed the division line, telling the officials, three shots, three shots. I'd like to, hey, coach, back in your box. We'll get it sorted. Hey, coaches, I need you sitting down over here for blue. Then go join the conference. No, in that situation, as the trail official 60 feet away, you're not going to be able to contribute much to this conversation. You've got to first of all get these coaches back to their box, get them seated, keep order. We've got to keep some order to this, right? So that's definitely something the crew could have done better on this play. Is, I think the trail official, if they come through, so you see the head coach for the white team in the black jacket at the division line holding up 3. He crossed all the way over there. And if you look back at the start of that play,
yeah, I was going to say,
there's not a lot of,
the center
there's
has
not a lot
to
of room, but he's on the court. The center official has to also be cognizant of not running into the coach right there because he's on the court. So these are things that need to be addressed. And obviously, I've roughed games at this gym too, and there's been times where I haven't addressed it with them too. That's another thing that I wanted to bring up, and I'm so glad that people brought it up. It's not just about your game. All right, we talk about the game being the most important thing, and it absolutely is. In some of these administrative things, we need to make sure that we're handling for the crew that comes after us. You know what I mean? If we handle the coaches properly, if we handle bench decorum properly and stuff like that, and we continue to do that game after game, crew after crew that they see, hopefully that establishes a positive habit and they understand that this is not going to be tolerated by anybody. But if we allow it to happen in our game, then the crew comes next game and starts penalizing. Then it's the inconsistencies that coaches are just talking about, and that's going to really set us up for failure, as an association, as a crew, as future crews. So being mindful of what needs to be taken care of as far as bench decorum goes can help us not only in that game keep order, but it's going to help future crews and partners that we have in the future be able to have a cleaner game.
Excellent. So wait a minute.
Good points, guys.
Does our center official not have a lanyard? Is this the greatest? Crime against humanity?
Listen, you are absolutely right. He does not use a lanyard. And listen, he is super sharp with it too, man.
Yeah.
I reffed a JV game with him. We were helping out and covering a tournament together. I reffed a JV game with him, and it was such a blowout. It was just one of those games. You just want to try to work on something, you want to just try to get a little bit better, or not just work on one thing, but work on multiple things because you have the opportunity to do so, right? Well, anyway, I was like, it was one of those games as a blowout. I was like, man, this second half, I'm going to try what you do. I'm going to try to use it without the lanyard. And like 2 whistles in, the whistle drops to the floor. Both times I'm like, screw this, dude. I'm not doing this anymore. More power to you, man, but I can't do that. So that's got to take some practice for me. But yeah, anyway, it's I know that I can't remember. You can help me out with this. Is it required in NFHS for the officials to wear a lanyard?
That is I think that is required.
Is it required? Yeah.
I don't really understand the restriction. I mean, what's the negative impact of not using a lanyard?
I'm not sure, but if that's the case, then obviously we shouldn't do it. I just want to put that out there because obviously we need to go by, the directives. But I will say this: he's as good as NBA officials when it comes to using that whistle without a lanyard. I mean, just boom, right in the pocket. He knows right in the belt loop, whatever he's got, or the waistband. He's really good with it. So, I mean,
yeah,
it looks clean to me.
I mean, most officials that I talk to that either don't use a lanyard, like in AAU ball over the summer or what have you, or don't use one, is that it helps them. It helps them slow down and process better. So I guess it's a uniformity thing. We don't want somebody on the crew being different than the others. It's a little mind-boggling why there would be a restriction against.
Right. But we don't make the rules and restrictions, do we, Greg? So
No, we don't.
I've had thoughts on them in the past for sure.
All right. Now I see in the chat there's all this coach energy. Have you brought the coaching contingent in with you?
I know, right?
I know you are coach adjacent with your other training.
Well, I definitely am coach adjacent. Maybe some of them saw you shared on Twitter and wanted to join in today. If so, coaches, I'm glad you're here. You can learn some stuff too. Hopefully you can contribute as well in the comments. But thank you guys for being here.
Yeah. So, Libertarian Neighbor says, Coach here, what moment marks the stoppage of the clock on this play?
Yep. So as far as this is the illegal contact occurs prior to the horn. Okay, so we're going to go back. We do have a whistle for that illegal contact. So even though the whistle sounds just before the horn, or it's just after the horn, I mean, we're talking about a millisecond, right after the horn. In this case, the contact does clearly occur just before the horn as well. All right. So when you go to dead ball, if you go to Rule 6 in the NFHS rulebook and you look at the dead ball section where it talks about the things that where the play becomes dead, obviously a defensive foul in this situation, a common foul in this situation is going to cause the play to become dead. It is an airborne shooter situation, so it doesn't mean the try doesn't count because he is already in shooting motion, airborne shooter. He releases the shot. That's going to count if it's successful, in which it was. We're going to score the three, or excuse me, it was not successful. My bad. But it's still a shooting foul. Okay. I was thinking about a different play. That's my fault. Yeah. He does release the try. The contact occurs while the try is in flight. Obviously, the ball has not become dead yet. It becomes dead on the illegal contact, but since there's a try for goal, that's an exception, as mentioned in that dead ball rule, right? Try for goal, it ends. We do have the illegal contact is where the ball becomes dead 0.3 seconds before the horn sounds. Obviously, some margin of error there. We're relying on our definite information from the center official on this play who comes in and says, I saw 0.3 when the contact occurred and I was starting to blow my whistle.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
That's a good question.
Good explanation as well. All right. What are we? 3 plays in? Let's take a look at play number 4.
All right, so let's take a look at this play just for some context. As the ball, or before the ball was inbounded or put at the disposal of the thrower, we have 1.3 seconds on the clock. I'm on this crew. I'm the trail in this play. You can't see me, but our crew. And I wanted to point this out. Okay, we got lucky on this play. We got lucky that he missed the shot, and I'm going to tell you why. You probably already know why. Okay. Our crew in this situation had a great game, in my opinion. Going back and watching on film, I felt like we called a really good game. This is a great example of what could happen, about how you could have a great game for all of the minutes, except for the last, point or 1.3 seconds. And this could be what is remembered by everybody if this shot had gone in. Okay. Now let's take a look at what we're looking at on this play. And before we do, think about if you were in this situation, 1.3 seconds on the clock, the team that is trailing by 1 point is going to have they've got to try to get a shot off. They can catch and shoot in this situation because it's above 0.3 seconds. But you want to be aware of all the things, right? What could happen on this play? As the trail, I'm thinking about the crossing screen at the free throw line. All right. That's what I'm looking at. And maybe the number 25 coming off that screen to catch a pass. I knew that was about to occur. So I'm looking at that to make sure it's a legal screen. They happen to switch on this screen, though. But at the same time they're switching on the screen, turn your attention to the strong side low block right there. All right. The blue player comes to set a screen, the blue player, number 10, comes across to set this screen. And this is clearly not a legal screen. In fact, he impedes the progress of this defender and completely clears him out of the play, allowing number 34 blue a wide open attempt to catch that and put it back. If that ball goes in, we're going to be hearing from the white team. We're going to be hearing from their coach. Here's the thing. In this situation, we've got to have the guts as a crew. And I'm saying myself as well, because even though I was looking at the screening action at the top, I've got to at least have knowledge of this play too. This could come from the center. This could come from the lead. This can come from anywhere. But we've got to have the guts in this situation to call this, even though they're down by 1 point. We cannot just leave it to see what happens, because anything could happen. On this play, this is clearly an illegal screen. 10 does not establish a legal screening position and uses his extended elbow and body and walks through him to clear him out of the play. This is an illegal screen and needed to be called, even in a situation like this where the blue team would probably no longer have a chance to win this game.
I agree.
And that's on us as a crew. Doesn't matter what you've done before this point. If that guy, if number 34 for blue had have made that attempt, then we're screwed. Yeah. That's all people are going to remember.
Did you think
that was an illegal screen? I know, right?
Why are you thanking me, Rev?
Thank you so much for missing that, bro. No, but that is just something to be mindful of. Like, intestinal fortitude is something we talk about from time to time as officials. In big moments, managing major moments and being able to step up and get plays right in big moments is a trademark of a good official, a great official, rather. You know, we've got to be willing to make the tough calls in those moments. That's a clear illegal screen, as Latrell says. That needed to be called. Our crew needed to call that an illegal screen in this play. We failed to do so, and we just lucked into this shot being missed. Les has a great point, too. Good comment. Center official has to get that. That's definitely a center play, in my opinion. I could have knowledge of it, but I've got my screening action. I'm looking for maybe the 25 blue coming off the screen to get a catch and shoot. He was one of their best shooters in that game, so I'm mindful of that as well.
Right.
But when can you pause it for a second, Greg, at the start of that play? We talk about anticipating the play, not a foul, right? We've got to anticipate when they line up in this. There's a lot of sets you can run out of this. Okay. Yeah. When you've got blue 34, the tallest player on the court, lined up here on the strong side low block, you've got a couple of things that could happen. The lead needs to be aware of a seal. If 34 just tries to drop below 10 and seal him off to catch one underneath and then just lay it up. So the lead needs to be aware of not only the thrower and the defender guarding the throw in, but he needs to be aware of a potential seal by 34. All right. Is it going to be legal, or is 10 draped all over his back? Or, we got to be aware of that. The center official on this play needs to be aware of the matchup specifically on the weak side low block with blue 10 right here. All right. When you see a formation like this and a set like this, and it was 1.3 seconds on the clock, anticipate these things. Lead anticipating that. Center official needs to anticipate that he's probably going to have some cross screens across the lane on this to try to free up somebody for an open tap or catch and shoot or something like that. I'm anticipating 25 is going to come off the screen and be an option for, the thrower to maybe get something out there if the screen is set legally. So I'm looking at screening action there. When they switch, I turn my attention down there, but it's too late. All right. So being mindful of when they set up in things, going through that, you want to make sure your clocks are right. This is an important situation, but you also need to anticipate what could happen so you're aware of it. All right. Those are the things that usually happen when you see a set like this, when there's 1.3 seconds on the clock and you've got the tallest player on the floor on the strong side low block. You got to be ready for that. Make sure the screens are legal and respond accordingly.
Yeah. And you have, 31 minutes and 58 seconds of plays they've run previously, and they're things that then we may have picked up. Hey, on their inbounds, their screens are maybe suboptimal, maybe didn't rise to the level, but we have a moment of desperation here as well. And so a human attribute that we see is desperate players will take maybe extreme actions, as our screener does. He probably in his mind, I have to prevent this guy from playing defense so we can get an open look. And took it a bit too far.
He took it way too far. And honestly, I saw this out of my peripheral vision and then I saw him wide open for this catch. So immediately when we got back to the locker room, the game ends on this play, right? He misses this attempt. I literally went right back to my phone, turned on NFHS network because there's a 30 or 45 second delay. And I was like, I need to watch this play again because I'm almost certain. But there wasn't high certainty for me in this situation.
Right.
I'm not gonna reach on this play if I'm not extremely certain, especially since our center has a great look at this play.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
are we trusting our crew?
I got to trust the crew on this, you know, and especially if I don't have high certainty, you know, so this isn't one of those things you guess on, but you need to have information on this play. And I felt that we lucked out on this as a crew. And so that was the first thing I did when we got in the locker room. I was like, guys, let's look at this play right now. I pulled it up. It's the first thing we talked about. And we talked about, hey, we needed to get this illegal screen right here. So sometimes you'll have things like that, you know, you want to look up right after the game while it's fresh on your mind, look at it as a crew together. This was definitely one of those, especially right at the end. So,
well, then we appreciate anytime our game is on the NFHS network and we have the ability to do that, or we know it's on YouTube, and we have immediate access to the game. That's such a privilege. And yeah,
absolutely.
So, but you know, you got to recognize that your sixth sense says we missed something there, right?
Yeah,
and that's why
what was going on with me.
Yeah, and Willowbrook points out this was a excellent pass. Look how close it comes to the backboard.
I haven't seen a throw-in pass like this good since the NBA final or the NBA playoffs last year. The Phoenix Suns, remember that play?
I mean,
it barely. I mean, just right by the backboard. I mean, perfect.
Just amazing.
That was a great throw. I mean, literally all the stars aligned for blue team on this play, and it went the Crew's way on this. I can't believe it. I can't believe that this shot was missed.
Well, you know, you got to appreciate it when it happens that way, because it won't always.
Nope.
Randy thinks there may have been contact on the shot. I didn't perceive that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah, I mean, maybe. The angle on this is not optimal to be able to see if there was contact to the head. I saw him kind of, you know, the white player keep his arms straight. Obviously, he may have jumped A to B, but I don't see any contact that would be considered illegal on this play, personally.
Yep. I'm with you. That's good.
But good point. Like that, it could have been compounded if we made the mistake of calling a foul on that one and missing the illegal screen. That's a big no-no. Miss the illegal screen and then get a phantom foul on the home team. Not a recipe for success right there.
No, indeed. All right.
You need a police escort out after that if that happened.
4 plays in. Let's take a look at play number 5.
All right, we're going to see 34, his second free throw be successful as well. Here's some context, okay? Boys state semifinal game a couple of years ago in Florida. All right, pretty good crew on this game. In fact, one of my good friends, who's a really high-level women's official, was on this game. Very good crew, but we see on this play, it's a good pain tolerance at first, right? Then we got a loose ball, all that stuff. But then we see the black player grab, and we're going to need to make sure who he grabs, white 13, correct? We see the lead official on this play call the foul. We're in bonus. He literally points to the free throw shooter and says, go shoot the ball. All right, you're the shooter. As a center official on this play, we have to know who the shooter is. Have to. Our lead literally pointed directly at him. This is the player who was fouled. He pointed down to go shoot the free throws. Now, watch this. After this play occurs, after the calling official, calls the foul, points to the identifies the shooter, and says, go shoot your free throws, watch the head coach for the white team. Yeah. So 34 is walking in to dap up his player, his teammate. Now, at 34 is hanging back here. He knows he's not entitled to these free throws. But the coach says, hey, go shoot these free throws. What's important about this is this player ended up having 28 points in this half. He's clearly their best player. He ended up scoring 39 points in the game. This is just he ended up going 21 of 22 from the free throw line. Clearly, the coach knows this is their best player and their best free throw shooter. Let's pull a fast one on the officials. Hey, go shoot these bonus free throws. He goes down there and he knocks them both down. Okay. The reason I'm bringing up this play, I did this before, and this is a learn from my mistakes type thing. I did this a year earlier than this in a rivalry game. I called an intentional foul. I pointed at the offended player. All right. And I pointed at the offended player of who is going to be attempting the free throws. I go over, signal the intentional foul. A player lines up for the white team in this case. And as soon as he does that, the visiting coach, who is the offending team, says, hey, Chip. That guy wasn't the one that was fouled. And it was a pants down type of moment. Like we got caught with our pants down. No, I went to all our other two officials on that crew. And I'm using me as an example on this because this happened to me. I'm not pointing anybody out on this. It can happen to anybody if we're not on high alert. I went to our crew on my play. I said, guys, do you know who the shooter was? I'm almost certain it was not white number 10 that's standing at the free throw line, who's their best player. And they did not know either. And I said, okay, I just got to go take it. Because I can't. I went to the table. I even tried to solicit our official scorekeeper on that play too. Like everything. Nobody had knowledge of who was fouled. I couldn't remember. And I had to tell Coach, I'm sorry. I can't take this player off the line unless I'm positive who I need to put on this line. And it was a moment, and obviously one that didn't end well. When you have things like that, you never forget them.
Yeah.
So let this be a lesson to you guys too. If you see these things happening right here, and this is a state semifinal game, this is clearly the best player, and you can clearly see the coach go tell his best player, who was not entitled to these free throws, to go shoot this. The same thing happened in my play too. The coach told that player to go shoot the free throws. In this case, what is the correct ruling when you identify it? All right. If we were to be after the first free throw, 34 attempts the first free throw, it's successful, and you identify the lead the neutral or the center official, identify, dude, that guy shouldn't have been taking those free throws. I clearly pointed at white 13. This is why it's important to put the right person on the line and identify your shooters. And this should be a team or a crew thing, right? That center official has to know in that situation, and the lead needs to do a better job of communicating who is going to be the shooter. All right. He points at him. That's great. The center official needs to see white 13 and follow that player up the court. Hey, 13 is my shooter. At least call it out. 13 is my shooter.
You know, he did.
Because if that doesn't happen,
he did. If you watch it here, right here. Well,
yep, he points
I guess
at the
what
guy.
he's doing is saying, hey, we're shooting, and he's asking for the ball as opposed to identifying the player. So a couple of things jump off to me. First of all, one of these players is different than the others.
Right.
And it should be, our brain should be able to process that. The actions of the coach here, right? Is that an unsporting action? That's a question. When we would determine when we're going to potentially penalize, and what would the penalty be in your state final, where you don't want to screw things up. It's needless to say,
it's a player technical foul. It's absolutely a player technical foul if they on the player who attempted the free throw that he was not merited.
Yeah.
If it's a player technical foul for attempting a free throw that's not merited. So if we would have discovered beforehand, which we should do, before we put that player on the line and administer the free throw, we need to say, oh, wait. Hey, something's not right. At least come talk about it. Something's not right. That's not the shooter, is it? That's not the guy who was fouled. And then that would have led the lead to be like, no, clearly that's not the guy that was fouled. It was the guy I pointed at, white 13. Yeah, but if you recognize it after he attempts the first free throw, then obviously that is a player technical foul on white 34.
Yeah. Well, so there's there's so much here on this play.
Yeah.
right? But first of all, a lot of times, like in your situation that you described, there is the game helps us as a crew. Somebody says, "Hey, wait. No, that's not right." Or the players
Hmm.
say that he didn't get fouled, right? We get those
No
signals,
help on this.
right? And that was missing in this instance. And so
Correct.
we're left out to dry. But what I find is most often the stakeholders in the game will alert us and help us. One of the things that we are always at risk of in free throw scenarios is what I like to say a little me time, right?
Hmm.
We've been working hard
Yep.
this game. I've been thinking about a lot of things. We just disconnect from the game for a moment,
Hmm.
and we're at risk of something going wrong, which it does in this instance. I'm sure this crew, you know, got a lot of feedback.
Well, you know what's weird is nobody. I was sitting at the scores table doing the stats for this game.
Ah,
I noticed it that it was the wrong free throw shooter, but I'm not going to stop the game. I'm not an official scorer. I'm just doing the stats. You know what I mean?
out
I
of the
can't
side of
stop.
your mouth. Wrong shooter.
That's not the wrong shooter. Wrong shooter.
Did we
I
have an
recognize it.
alternate official?
No, no alternate
Oh,
official on this.
okay.
And so you got your state evaluators behind there. The state evaluators, to my knowledge, did not address this with the crew because I sent this to one of my buddies after the game who was on the game. I said, "Hey, did you guys know that you put the wrong free throw shooter on the line or let the wrong player attempt a free throw or free throws?" And he's like, "Nope, no clue." And so it can happen. Somebody said it in the comments. This is an easy mistake to make. For real, Jacob said it. This is an easy mistake to make. I've made it before. Please don't let this be you because it can, like in this situation, second quarter, sure, this guy ended up with 39 points. He scored 28 points in this quarter. He 21 to 22 from free throws. This game, he's clearly their best player, but there's still a lot of time to make this up. In my game, it was like a minute left when I called this intentional foul in like a 2 point game, And so it ended up not making a difference. The team that was winning, that was disadvantaged on this by me not knowing, was ended up winning anyway. However, don't let this be you. I love this from Mike. Talk about these things in pregame. Um, Identifying shooters is very, very important to what we do. And now I promise you, because this mistake happened to me, it allowed me to identify this play in this game. I was the only one in the gym almost that knew that this was the wrong free throw shooter. But I knew it because I had made that mistake like 3 games before this. You know what I mean? I knew it. And now every single time there's a bonus situation upcoming or a shooting foul or an intentional foul, I don't care if I don't care what spot I'm in on the court or if I'm the calling official or not. I'm identifying the shooter and I'm saying white 13's our shooter. And I'm saying it verbally and I'm giving numbers, everything that I can to make sure that our crew does not allow the wrong player to attempt these free throws because I've seen and felt firsthand the embarrassment because that coach in my game obviously emailed our people after the game, our supervisors, stuff like that, and said, Chip totally botched this one up. And he said my name because I was the one that came to him and said,
Right.
this is on me. I was the crew chief. This is
Yep.
on me, coach.
And it was.
I made the mistake. I will literally take any criticism you can throw at me right now because you are absolutely right. And I know you're right. I just don't know who the free throw shooter is. So I can't just put anybody up there without knowing. I can't guess on this.
Yeah. And
And I'm
previously,
sorry.
previously you had mentioned working that blowout JV game with the other official.
Right.
What are we working on in a blowout JV game? Are we just
Things
managing the
like this.
game into the port and what have you? Or are we like, hey, in this game, I'm going to work on this one thing, this discipline aspect, right? I'm going to get my
Mm-hmm.
shooter. You call the foul. I'm going to identify the shooter. I'm going to be really remedial and basic and really
Yes.
help reinforce my habit of identifying the shooter and getting them to the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the games you work on these things. If there's, and I don't know if you guys do this like I do, but one of the things, I have a black book right here, and this is my black book of things that I need to work on at any given time. as an official. Things I've identified, things that people have told me at camps, college camps, stuff like that. I have a running list, and I try to keep at least 20 things on the list. That's a lot. It may seem like a lot, but these are literal nitpicky things that I want to get better at. I want to get better every possession. I want to focus on doing the right thing every possession, every dead ball, making sure I don't lose focus, don't take that me time. Dead ball, we got to be on high alert. As soon as a foul is called, we need to know why it was called. What's going to be the result of this play? How are we going to resume play? We need to have all those answers. All right. And so literally getting just a little bit better every single possession is what I'm focused on. And that's why I have this book in here, like this book of like 20 things at any given moment that I need to improve on. But right now, one of the things I'm working on at the collegiate level, and this could apply to some high school associations too that have shot clocks, my shot clock differentials. I got to get better at my shot clock differentials, right? Knowing how much time is left on going to be left on the clock if we have a shot clock violation, in point or tenths of a second, situation. So like I need to get better at those things. There's a lot of little things that I need to improve on that can turn into big things if we don't get them right. Identifying your shooters is of utmost importance to making sure your game stays on the rails and you don't have an oh crap moment like I did in my game or like they ended up having in this game. And I think Mike asked, I think this was the state semifinal from it wasn't this past season, it was maybe 2021. I think the season prior to that it was a state semifinal between Andrew Jackson and Bishop McLaughlin, which turned out to be like an 8-point game. I think Bishop McLaughlin won by like 79-71 or something. But that guy, White 34, that shot those unmerited free throws, he ended up with 39 points in that game. I mean, just went off. Was making everything. So that's who you want on the line. And last thing I'll say about that play is, listen, if there's any coaches on here, I apologize, but coaches want the advantage, right? And I'm not saying all coaches do this. Yeah, I'm not talking about the morality of it, but sometimes coaches do what these coaches I just mentioned did. They know that player, their best player, is not merited those free throws, but they told them to go shoot it anyway. They try to pull fast ones on us from time to time. That's why it's of utmost importance that we stay engaged, even during dead ball situations. We've got to know it. We got to know all the things. It's a lot. This job is not easy. Thinking about all the things that you need to do in dead balls. And Eric Lewis, NBA ref, like he says it all the time. Like he's got you. When you get to the end of a game as an official, you should be mentally and physically exhausted. Just wiped out. Like, because you've been thinking, your mind has been going 90-0 the whole game, and you're not taking mental breaks. You take your mental breaks when you can. When you're walking off the court, after you've left the confines of the court for halftime, let's take a breather. We need some rest for a second. Let's give our minds a break. But in these situations, you gotta be thinking, what are my clocks on this? I mean, every time I pass a free throw line extended or a division line, I peep the clock real quick. I've just gotten in the habit of that. Just knowing my clock started on time. Like whenever the play is inbound and the player catches it, I peep the clock. In high school, I don't even use – I literally only give a visible count on the 10 seconds in the backcourt just for show. I don't even use it. Like it's just for show. I peep the clock as soon as it's called, and I do the differential in my head real quick. What's 10 seconds? If the clock – if it's 4:37 when they touch the ball legally in bounds on the throw-in, all right, 4:37. Then I know if it gets to 4:27 and the ball's still in the backcourt and it hasn't taken on front court status, I know I've got a 10-second violation. So my count is just for show. In states like California, Greg has the benefit in high school games of having a shot clock. So he knows if it gets to 25 seconds on the shot clock, then it's going to be a 10-second backcourt or 10-second violation. Do you have to do visible counts?
We do. We have. My understanding is that for the upcoming season, we will be using the shot clock for 10-second count.
It's perfect. So. I love it. I love it so much better. And Florida just allowed for us to adopt shot clock this year. Now, a lot of schools that we officiate and areas that we officiate are not going to have it this year due to funding and stuff like that. But I think by 2 years from now, I think they should be able to have it, it should be mandated, I believe. But we may be, if high school officials that are on here from Florida, you may be working some games this year that feature a shot clock, so, brush up on those rules in NFHS rule book. It has some things. Now, obviously state adoption, The state could have some um, different shot clock rules in there for or directives for you. So make sure you brush up on those as well.
All right, fantastic. Well, Chip, I've kept you for quite a while. Do we have time for one more play, a bonus play?
Absolutely, absolutely. I could talk plays all day, especially with you.
You know we love it. It's the
We
truth.
love it. Yeah,
All right.
I'm a
Hey,
talker.
Jason Hayes has submitted a play, a bonus play. Let's take a look. That is a tough look from C. I'll tell you that much.
Seaside drives are the toughest on crash plays, toughest to get right. Let's see how long. Let's see. All right, once the ball is passed over here, lead does kind of go to a close down position. I mean, let's start with that. Do you think he had enough time to rotate over there? I
Well, he
don't want to be
certainly had enough
super
time to want to rotate over,
right.
right? There's no expression from the lead that's what they want to do or feel that needs to
Right.
be done.
Right. That
Uh,
kind of little giddy up thing where you get in the close down position and you're like looking to go. We didn't see that. He was content with staying right there.
yeah. Do we? Obviously we need to pick up the secondary defender here. Boy, it looks like he's looking right at it. But when you see this play, there's no call on the play, right? What jumps off to me is this play needed a whistle, right?
Absolutely.
So if we go into our game and we're thinking when plays need a whistle, let's put a whistle on the play, right? I want to have 100% of information I need to make the correct call. But if I only have 80%, I'm going to put a whistle on this play. If I only
On
have
this one.
60%, I'm going to put the fact that the play needs a whistle takes priority over my lack of a complete confidence in the call.
That's a great way to say it.
And
I
so when
agree.
it doesn't come from the lead here, I certainly expect it would come from the trail. But don't like to see the disengagement there. But and then as a last resort, are you coming to put a whistle on this play as the center?
I think on this particular play, you do. I think on this particular play, patience is the key as the center, right? I think the only open angle on this play is the trail official. That's it. That's the only one with an open angle. Lead's looking through the back of the secondary defender. C's looking through the back of the ball handler. It's a tough play. Seaside drives, we got to be aware of this. Like on seaside drives, we got to do everything we can to try to get into a position to see it and still know that it could happen so quickly we may not be able to get into a position. So then we got to, but these plays, these kind of crashes right here, it leads to an easy putback layup. We have to have a whistle on this play. You'd love to see it, if the lead passes come from the trail, boop, 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 nice cadence coming in there with authority and, hey, I've got this. This is going to be a charge, and so like coming in with that authority would be great from the trail. And listen, let's be honest, he's in a good position. The trail is low enough to where it's believable. Like if the trail was like I've seen some of our officials like
Yeah.
stay way high in the
30
trail
foot.
and stay planted. Yeah, on this play, he's in his home position, which by the way is not the 28-foot line in high school. It's the top of the 3-point arc. He's literally low. He's perfect. Great position on this. If you come in, you're super believable. Come in, boop, 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 and then ship it the other way, then that is going to be 100% believable. Center official, in my opinion, I believe he could have had something because this play needs a whistle. I think it's one of those, it needs to come from somebody.
Yeah.
It's got to come from somebody, in my opinion.
We do have another look at the play from the opposite side. Same play.
Let's watch the secondary. Yeah. He's there. I mean, barely.
Yeah,
But if you
it's
watch the
close.
secondary defender the whole time, he establishes LGP prior to the airborne or the shooter leaving the floor. I mean, he jumps into position, jumps in, boom, he's there. So you got the cadence of boom, and then he's up. I think it charges the right call on this play, or would have been the right call on this play. Those are tough, right? But if you watch the secondary defender, you got your eyes in the right place. It makes it a little easier. But this one's still tough, but we can see that was the trails look right there from a higher point of view.
Yeah.
But that's the trails look right there. Boom.
Yep.
I mean, you got that's a great chance for you to come in and show. And listen, if you got an evaluator watching your game on this game and you're the trail and you come in, your evaluator should know enough to know this is a really tough look for the lead in the C or the L in the C, right? And they know that you should have the open angle on this play as the trail. This is a great chance for the trail to come in and show what he's been working on.
Yeah.
You know, what we've been working on. I'm talking about me now. I'm using myself as an example. One of the things in my black book is my whistle control from the outside positions, you know, my cadence whistles, the timing of my whistles to show how professional timing. I want to get it perfect. I want to have just enough patience and then come in when I have to. And even my body movements, I want to take a few steps in while I'm doing this, calling this play from the trail. This is the time as a trail that I've been waiting for and preparing for. This is my time to shine. This is in front of my evaluators to show I can be professional on this. I can come in and get a call that needs to be got, right? I can get it right, and I can do it with the perfect timing on my whistle. Boop, 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 boop. I'm coming in to get this, and then I'm sending it. That shows your evaluators, shows your supervisors that this guy, this girl knows what they're doing.
Yeah, you're going to get high marks. You're going to get high marks. You come in late on a play that needs a whistle, right? And you come in with strength and certainty and willing to own the fact that, yes, the whistle came very late. Yes, but we got the call correct.
Right.
It's like you get nothing but flowers in that situation from those in the know. You know, the game appreciates it, as we like to say.
This is a good play, though. And I'll tell you this, going back to seaside drives being so tough, the worst call that I had all season this year, and I had 3 that were dreadful calls. I'll be honest with you. 3 that were just dreadful. And one of my most dreadful calls was a seaside drive in transition, and I'm the C, and I got stacked. I was a straight line. I'm looking through the back of the dribbler, and the defender, when you go back and look, that defender was legal and maintained his legal position by moving laterally and back at an oblique angle backwards to be able to remain in the path, which is another thing, in the path of the dribbler, and the dribbler goes right through his torso. And I literally called it a blocking foul because it looked to me like he jumped forward. But I can't really tell that from the center position. But you go back and look at it at the different angle, the trail's angle, which the trail wouldn't have been any help because he's way back at the division line, right? Because it was a quick turnover. But it was the worst. It was one of the worst, top 3 worst calls of my season last year when you go back and watch it on film. And I even admitted to the coach that questioned me about that call. I admitted to him, Coach, there's a really strong chance that you have a great point on that. There's a really strong chance I missed that. Seaside drive is tough, but I got to get that one right. And, you know, I just ate it, you know. So, but those are tough, man. It really is. And trying to fight for the open angle, and that one's a quick one that could happen in transition where you don't have time to you pull up a little short, you know, come to a stop so you can try to get a better angle. You don't want to be leaning. You don't want to be reaching, but it's just really tough. So especially when the ball settles in the front court, going back to the play we just looked at, in my opinion, as the lead, what I would have liked to see happen and what I would have tried to do is as soon as that ball is where it is, I'm going to be where that lead originally was, right? But as soon as that ball gets passed to the opposite, I've got that competitive matchup in the lane. I'm going to at least come to a closed down position, maybe even one step inside the lane line, right? So I'm coming down to the C almost. I'm going to get ready to go once that pass comes over. And once it settles down there in the three-point arc, I'm going to go with urgency because I know that there's a strong possibility that it could be swung back, but I know it's a stronger possibility that the floor is unbalanced now, and that's going to lead to a play on that low block. And I need to be in a better position to help our crew. So listen, I've done it just like the lead here. one of the things that's taken a long time for me to learn as an official, and it just comes with experience, is knowing when to rotate. There's been plenty of times with all of us, especially when we're starting out, you get halfway across the lane and then it comes back the other way and you're like, oh, wait. It's an art, knowing when to rotate, knowing when to anticipate something could happen, and the percentages of it happening on that side, but you just got to be in a closed down position first and foremost to at least give yourself a chance. So when that ball swings over to the weak side, I need that lead to get down to that C right there on the Wildcats. I need to get down to a close position and even a step inside of there in anticipation. And then when it goes down to that corner, I'm not going to run, but I'm going to do a very, very quick
purpose.
I'm walking with a purpose over there, and I'm keeping my eye on my secondary or I'm keeping my eye on my matchup and identifying that secondary as quickly as I possibly can once I see that the drive is imminent.
Yeah. So if we just look at, take a moment and look at rotation, right? Let's go here. Right. Once the ball gets to the wing here, it's caught there at the 28-foot line or, close. It's like, to me, I'm going, right? Or at least I'm poised. And then once that player passes the ball to the corner, I know I have time.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we go, and then maybe I'm at the D, I'm at the L, and
I'm turned. Yep.
And then we pick up that secondary defender, maybe out at the I.
It opens right up. It would have opened right up to the L if he was over there on that I.
Yeah.
In Wildcat.
So, again, we're in that blowout game, 43-point game. We could still work on these sort of aspects, these precision things, making smart decisions, being assertive, recognizing if there's an immediate action, if that guy shoots from the corner, maybe I'm most of the way across, but I'm going to keep back out, right? And practice those so that we're sharp when the game needs it most.
That's great. Could you go back real quick at point of contact, or excuse me, just before the airborne shooter leaves the shooter leaves the floor, just to show everybody. I know there's questions about it in the comments. Boom. If we can pause once secondary defender establishes LGP and jumps into legal position on this play. So boom, he jumps in right here. It's bang, bang, but he's there. Yeah. Like it's super close. I know it was brought up by Les. Judgment call on this one. Point is, it needs a whistle. Absolutely spot on. This could be difficult in real time, really difficult. But if that lead is on the eye in Wildcats and he's able to get his eyes to that secondary defender as quickly as possible, then we're going to see, hopefully, even though it's bang, bang, that secondary defender jumps into position before the shooter leaves the floor.
Yeah. And Jason told me in this game, just prior to this, there was a block charge play that was, let's say it was obviously a charge and it was ruled a block. Okay. And to me, that's like something I'm carrying as the center here as well on this play is, what's happened in the game so far, et cetera. So,
yep. All the things, right?
All the things. And that's why at the end of the game, we are exhausted.
Yep. I mean, listen, so judgment calls, gray area plays, stuff like that are not black and white. That's where we earn our stripes. You know what I mean? That's where we make our quote unquote make our money. That's what separates the great officials from the good officials. And that's matching calls, like matching plays, being able to process that information and keep it handy in the back of your mind for recall when you need it. So knowing what your partner just called on the other end, knowing, having an idea of whether or not that was the correct call, just all of those things. So that's what separates the great from the good. So good points. That was a good play.
Yes, it was a great play. I mean, there's, a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff.
All right, Chip. So I am going to let you go. I appreciate you joining us today for a 5-Play Friday live with a guest.
Yes, sir.
Whoa. My tech team was working overtime to put this all together today. So a shout out to Gus and Oliver, but much appreciated and much love. Well, hope to do this more. Hope to have you back at another time. We'll talk about plays, and we'll all help each other get better.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, like I've got thousands and thousands of plays in my library. Like I break down film all the time during the season. So if I come across some head scratchers or some atypical plays, I'll make sure to send them to you so you can have some good ones for 5 Play Friday for
Or
sure.
put them in
Even
a
if it's ones that
folder
I
and
miss.
come on
Do
back.
what? Yeah, come on back. Awesome. Hey, listen, thank you so much, Greg, for having me on. And guys in the comments, guys and girls, it was great, being able to see you guys even in text form over here. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck throughout the season. Literally, it's here. It's right around the corner. We got preseason college games that have already started. Maybe some of you guys are in middle school games, junior high games already for high school. So I just wish you guys the best of luck and success this season. Hey, keep learning your rules, keep staying in your rule book, keep staying in your case book, officials manuals. Just do all the things you need to do to have a successful season. And keep listening to this guy because he knows what he's talking about. Greg, I appreciate you so much for having me on, man. It's great to see all you guys. Best of luck.
Thanks so much, Chip.
Bye, Greg.
Come on back. Thanks for joining us today for 5 Play Friday. Be a great time if you want to do all the things. Hit the like, the subscribe, and the notifies so you don't miss out on any of our new content as we start going live every Friday during the basketball season. We have additional video content available for you here. Make your choice. Choose wisely, and we'll see you in the very next video. We'll see you in the very next video. Rick, thank you. Great to see everybody today. I'm not sure what that means. Thanks, Mike. Oh, awesome. Willowbrook, awesome. Fantastic. Stan, great to see you. Boy, Chip was awesome. Not just in his ability to break down, not just to communicate, but to interact with the comments as well. Man. So check out DDR as well. I know they have a promotion related to Tony Brown and his passing. Super deep discount. So check it out. Check it out. DDR, they always do great breakdowns. And if Chip's involved, then we know that's going to be the case as well. Great to see you, Les. Ooh, don't want to do that. Awesome. Okay. Well, as usual, I've got stuff to do. I am going to bid everybody adieu. And I really appreciate you joining on short notice. We'll have a better lead-in for next week where we have another fantastic guest. All right, everybody. Have a good one.